Welcome, we're recording, yay! I'm Deirdre Catlin, and welcome to Quantum Living Conversations. I'm joined today by Connie Rutledge, and she's a nutritionist, and one of the reasons I started today's podcast is part of a 3-part series of the work that I'm doing and how I made a massive change in my life revolves around emotions and feelings and feeling good in your body. And the recognition that part of feeling good is how we take care of our body. And I'm fascinated that here we are at 2020, no one has a clue on how to feed the body, how to take care of it. I come up with bad habits based on the military of, okay, we're going to push, don't have time to eat right now, so have an energy drink or have this. And they're finding that the coffee and the energy drinks and all this are helping to create an environment that makes people more susceptible to PTSD and stress and stuff like that. So, that's my perspective, is maybe more the military and how we can help there. But as we were talking a little bit before, you come from a background where nutrition is individualized. And I think I was talking with a friend the other day, and we grew up learning how to feed our bodies based on the next magazine and what diet was out there. And I know from my body type, the Mediterranean diet doesn't feel good, doesn't work, and there's actually chemistry behind that for me and my body, go figure. My premise is we have an amazing piece of equipment, physically, emotionally, spiritually, that, how can we hack that a little bit more? And so I'd love to have a conversation with you as far as what exactly do you do in your nutrition services, and then how did you get into it? Why do you do this? So
thank you so much for actually asking. That's probably the biggest step in learning how this works and deciding, what makes sense for you as a human. Because these human bodies are clunky and they're tricky, and we're hoodwinked and basically coerced into believing what might work for one, and it doesn't always work for us. So I feel strongly, and it's worked in my practice of 14 to 15 years now, that we are all unique and we all need a different quote unquote macronutrient ratio. Well, what the heck am I talking about? Food is, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats are macronutrients. And some of us need more fats. Like if you look at the planet Earth and you look at indigenous diets and you look how ancient cultures evolved and survived as a culture, then you'll see that the Eskimos didn't have carbohydrates. And the Hawaiians had plenty of carbohydrates by way of what's a carbohydrate? It's plants, it's sugar, and those types of things. And they survived very well as a culture. And so there's little different tweaks. We all need fat, protein, and carbohydrates, but we all need them in different amounts to satisfy our body's need for fuel. It's the fuel source. Just like you drive your car to the gas station and you put either gasoline or diesel, but you would never put diesel in a car that requires gas. So when I
have it, doesn't work very well.
Have you? No, I'm glad.
Whatever in France, the nuns did not teach me the correct word for diesel and gas, and
so that's a bad outcome, right? Yep. But the beautiful thing about the human body is that I say you can never get it wrong, because you're never going to get it done. You have to continue feeding our body as long as we are breathing and living on the planet. So I always offer that to my clientele. I never want you to feel like a failure, because in 3 to 6 hours, you get to do it again.
And maybe that's the hack I'm looking for, because a lot of times I know I do this, and I've heard this from a lot of people of like, oh no, I just ruined it today. So, you
No,
know, now I'm going to eat all of the things and then I'll start tomorrow.
that's so typical because that's how we've been programmed. But when you appreciate the fact that if you make a mistake, you get a do-over for the most part, and your body specifically. It might take a day or two to recover from the mistake that you chose to make, whether they were cookies or, whatever it was that didn't agree with you, but the body's resilient and it's always giving you information. And so with my nutrition practice, I use a data-driven assessment for the most part to figure out the best macronutrient ratio for your specific energy needs. Okay. When we understand the dominant system in your body, we eat to strengthen the non-dominant side to create balance.
Oh, cool. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. When you need, for me, example, as I started I got curious about nutrition when my daughter in 8th grade had a chronic migraine and cyclic vomiting episode where she basically got really, really sick for months. And we had her at Stanford University. We had her all over the place, and they could not find anything wrong with her. She vomited 50 times a day.
Wow.
But there was nothing wrong with her medically. So finally, an endocrinologist. I'm at this moment in my progression as a human being. I'm a mother. I'm a hairdresser. I'm booster club president. I'm very, very committed to my children, which was a gift. Those kids are everything to me. She got sick. I'm Mama Bear, I'm going to find out how to fix her. And the medical community never really offered that the things that she was eating could help her and maybe needed to be looked at. In fact, it was discouraged. And I intuitively knew that can't be right. But, I was naive. I was younger. We didn't have the internet back then. I'm older than that at that point. And finally, an endocrinologist suggested you might think about her diet. And I was like, I'm on it. And we had a computer, and I got to work learning, quote unquote, conventional nutrition. And really went down the rabbit hole and got educated, through Dr. Google, which was not a bad thing. But we started on a plant-based diet, avoiding to make a long story short, my daughter was very gluten intolerant and basically intolerant to grains. Okay, well that was a big deal back then. Everything was, low fat, no fat.
Right.
Breads, pretzels were the go-to snack, no butter because that was fat. And so fat was feared. The carbohydrate was, king, and low calorie because that's where we were in that time. All right. So I went to a unconventional nutrition school to get my certification, a holistic nutrition school. I didn't want to go back to university because I didn't believe in the conventional wisdom. It wasn't working for us. And what I studied was a plant-based diet. Okay, well, that's great, except I was not thriving. I was gaining weight, eating tons of vegetables, very little animal protein, and moderate fat, I would say. Feeling anxious and just not really thriving. My daughter was better because we were going gluten-free. And so that was kind of a really good part of that. But personally, I was not doing well. When I found what I use for my business, which is called metabolic typing, Bill Wolcott is my mentor, I again went down the rabbit hole and found out that I genetically am very much like an Eskimo, and carbohydrates are like rocket fuel for my quote unquote oxidation rate, which is way more information than anybody needs to know. But that was the science behind what I learned. And when I started switching from a massive salad at lunch with maybe a little bit of fish or white meat chicken and a low-fat dressing. That was a very carbohydrate-rich meal with a little bit of protein. It was all good quality food. But when I switched over to a grass-fed beef patty with maybe some blue cheese sprinkled on top, so that's high protein, lots of fat, maybe a small spinach salad and a ton of olive oil dressing. So that's very high fat, protein, and low carbohydrate. I freaked out in the first couple of days because I wasn't eating a mountain of food like I was used to. That big, massive salad that gave me a stomach ache, and made me crave cookies 2 hours later because I had way too much, quote unquote, good sugar in relationship to fat and protein, was definitely creating a weird outcome in my body. Okay, so I flipped over to lower carb, better quality proteins and fats, and immediately calmed down.
Cool.
It was so interesting for me.
Include your anxiety?
My anxiety was like way down. I slept better. I mean, my husband was fine, like, thank goodness, because because we ate pretty conventional and very healthy. I mean, we didn't have crazy diets, before. And then when I switched over to vegetarian, because that's what I was being taught was the best diet, broad stroke. And it was so confusing to me. So then I flipped back into, lower carb. Of course I eat my vegetables. They're important, but I just make sure I'm careful about how many carbohydrates that I allow in relationship to fat and protein. And craving free, do I still eat chocolate caramels? Yes. And I have to watch what happens when those, creep into my, especially with this quarantine. It's like, there's a lot of time that I'm at home and, there's little treats here and there. And so I'm human. I'm gonna creep over and grab something that's not good, but I always know. And I always tap into my physical body and it's like, okay, was it worth it? And is it something you want to experience again today, later today? And I make the choice. Sometimes it's like, hell yeah, I'm going to have more caramels. Right. Because, like we had a conversation before, it's like, if the muffins are there, maybe I just mow through them and get rid of them and then, right. Do better next time. That's a choice. So I offer, you get to choose, but once you have the information that allows you the recipe for success, it frees you from needing more of what is not necessarily good for you.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool ideas in there. So one question that kind of came up was like, how, and you may have touched on it already, how long does it take to notice?
It's instantaneous.
Really?
Like that. I remember the first day I had clients in the afternoon because I was a practicing nutritionist. I, thought I knew it all because, I had studied and I'd have diet classes, I'd have 10 or 15 women and we'd do a week-long cleanse and I'd have, pureed, beautiful pureed, like butternut squash soup and smoothies. And I'd offer, kind of like a smoothie morning, soup evening detox, if you will. Okay. We're also unique. I would walk in, 3 or 4 days later and you could tell the half of the class thought I was amazing because they felt so good and they've lost 2 pounds in 3 days, And then 3 women over here are going, I've gained 4 pounds. I feel awful. And I'm in the camp of, oh my gosh, I'm not thriving. My stomach hurts and I'm eating the right way. I just paid all this money for this class and I'm feeling horrible. Maybe I just need to detox a little more. It's like, no. Your body gives you information about 2 hours after you've eaten that food.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I noticed because part of my journey is coming back from Afghanistan and like I would have hives with everything, right? Like there's only so many foods you can eat and they're being handled by people who are not washing their hands, right? So in order for me to do my job, I do not want to eat some of the veggies and the things that are going to cause mid-flight, right? Like that's
That's
there's
essential.
things that I just need to take care of. So some of the safe foods that I was eating, potato was a major player of it.
Yeah.
And I was taking that malaria medication also because we're worried about that. And I think it's in the news. If you guys haven't realized, we're at the end of April now in that 2020 quarantine timeframe. So wherever you're listening to this. So I had stopped that because my stomach was hurting right away, but still eating the potatoes. And then towards the end, I was craving potatoes and potato chips. So when I got home and kind of did a clean thing, I still couldn't figure out what was going on, went to a nutritionist, and her method is I can't metabolize potato. So it was ironic to me that the thing that I can't do, that I was eating so much of and then started to crave it. And I've heard this with people with lactose intolerance. And like, so now if I do it, it is immediate. It is in mouth, in stomach. Why'd you do that?
Well, the body's pretty smart, and you probably created a food sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of histamine in potatoes.
Mm.
And a histamine response suggests the body just says, get rid of it because it's not going to work.
Yep.
The wisdom of the body is majestic.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, and when I look back on it as a child, I didn't like potatoes. Like I refused to eat them as a child. Like,
but it's so good.
But not if you don't like them. Like it's weird, right? Like, I think we kind of know. And so now as I try to look at things, if it's a food bar, I can just go and smell it and immediately, nope, that's not, like my stomach will just be like, bleh. And so it's fascinating how we move through life and ignore these signs that you're saying is immediate.
It can be, but it also can be a food sensitivity. Technically, can be immediate, and it can erupt in a negative reaction 92 hours after ingestion. It's tough to figure out what you could be sensitive to,
right?
Because there's so many variables. So, there's, like I said, there's so many variables. So we just have to kind of take this. I can, as a nutritionist, argue over here, and I can argue the same point over here, just about every food on the planet. Right. And it's a difficult, line to walk, but I believe that the body is wanting healing and wholeness, and it is able to heal. You just got to give it the right tools and time.
So in your clients, when they're following this regime, so talk to me a little bit about the mapping of your
the assessment. It's a 15-page assessment. It looks at the wisdom of Weston A. Price, and we look at he was a dentist that traveled the world because he couldn't understand in the 20s and 30s. He couldn't understand why tooth decay was so prevalent in the U.S. and indigenous cultures who didn't have toothbrushes had maybe they had green slime, but they had no decay. It's Weston A. Price is a fascinating grassroots food resource. WestonAPrice.org if you want to play with that information. But Bill Wolcott designed a program, like I talked about, finding out the genetic dominance system. You either have an autonomic nervous system dominant. The autonomic nervous system, again, this is a lot of information. The sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. The parasympathetic is rest and digest. And some of us live there where, the sympathetic is turned on and we're never resting and digesting. So it's stress, 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 stress. The poor digestive system gets forgotten about because your body is not going to worry about digesting food if you're running from the tiger or fighting the enemy, whatever. Okay, there's also the next system is the oxidative system, and that's my dominant system. The oxidative system determines the rate at which energy enters in the cell. Say a carbohydrate, is it a fast oxidation or a slow oxidation? And we want both of those systems to be balanced, okay? So if my oxidation rate is high, I eat a leaf of spinach that's out of balance, because that's gonna metabolize into glucose, even though it's yummy, good quality food. It's gonna shift, and I'm oxidizing, which oxidation is when you cut an apple in half, it starts to oxidize, right?
Mm-hmm.
Turn
Yep.
brown. We don't want that in our system. We want to live for, I want to live for a lot longer than, and be
Or
very
you have
healthy.
some really cute grandkids too. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I want to reduce my high oxidation by, first of all, reducing the amount of sugar that I'm eating. But also, if I start eating sugar, my body wants more and more and more to feel like I want to feel with a little bit on board. So I'm just going to have to eat more, because it's like rocket fuel on the fire. And I want to burn more like the big fat log in the campfire that's going to metabolize. I always say, as a fast oxidizer, for me, sugar is like lighting this page on fire. It's gonna turn to a black page, right?
Yep.
I want there to be really fine ashes at the end of the day in the fireplace, where it's used up all of the fuel source, and it's metabolized beautifully, because there's all those components to get every single thing out of the food that I'm actually ingesting, for a lot of different reasons.
So is that what's happening when folks are deficient in minerals and like not absorbing things possibly?
Absolutely. Because if they're just not getting the right fuel mix, it's not beneficial to energy needs. And then the body perceives the need for more energy because it's not getting the efficient fuel it needs. So it wants more of what's the quickest fuel? Sugar. Those donuts are so compelling, because it's immediate. How many times have you tried a really lovely grass-fed steak and thought, oh, I'm going to binge on steak?
Right.
No.
It doesn't happen.
No.
Oh, that's so cool. I love how you're explaining all this. So what results do you see in your clients? Like what?
Immediately.
Why do people come to you? Like,
oh gosh, that's a good question. Well, there's all manner of, I have, unfortunately, cancer patients. I have people that just want to lose weight, women with hormone issues, a lot of anxiety, which, so there's a wide range, a lot of digestive issues. The gut is a big thing. I too struggle with digestion. And so I really feel that, we've done a lot of damage with antibiotics, and our fuel source, which is our food resources with glyphosate and a lot of things that, we're just trying to get through the day eating whatever we need to, eat. And then we are compromised as a result of the food source. That being said, when you appreciate that there's more information than the general public really knows about, and even it's just more layered than it maybe should be. But when you have the understanding and maybe the resources to clean up the diet, you're more likely to stay on that track, because you feel so much different and better. And maybe you've been broken for so long. Most people find me after they've been to a dietitian, and to the gastroenterologist, and to the the quick fix diet. They've done some HCG rounds with a medical advised low calorie. So they've done metabolic balance. So often I'm one of the last stops, because what I'm doing is functional, and it makes not only biochemical sense, I can give some logic, energetic assistance to appreciate, you're okay. And you always were okay. Maybe you're uncomfortable right now, but we're going to be okay. Let's get some information and offer, get started. So.
And I love that that's part of your approach, because I'm listening to a bunch of different things, and especially going on with the virus right now. And, from Lyme disease to all these autoimmune things that pump up, there's a lot of ideas and fear behind it. But I'm sitting here looking at going, and we're still here. Like, and the body is taking a beating and
Yeah.
it's still going. And I'm just thinking about, because I have no doubt I'm going to be using your services here soon. But, and I'm just sitting here thinking like, man, how many years have I not given myself purposely minerals that I should have been taking my whole life, right? Like, and you can't talk to me when I was 20. Like, you weren't going to. And there probably does need to be something that changes for. This is how you take care of your body. But I'm just amazed that wow, I'm still kicking, and I know for many
That's,
years
that's the beauty of it.
that wasn't getting in.
You can't get it wrong.
Yep.
You can't get it wrong, because you just, when you don't feel good, you're going to hopefully seek out and receive the right information at some point. And when you're ready for that, it's like, okay, that key goes in the lock and unlocks all of this beautiful, yeah. And it's like, okay, I struggled a long time. And are you going to be perfect after that? No. But you always have that blueprint. And I believe that my clients come to me, and is everybody 100% successful? No. But I can give them the tools, and they keep coming back. Even I won't see someone for 2 years, and I'll run into them at the grocery store, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to call you. We all want a quick fix. I do.
Right? Right?
Yeah. I'm human, but I know.
Do that lemonade detox for 3 weeks. I could do it, or 3 days, or.
Exactly. So, but I also can offer functional testing. If there is something else going on, hormonal. I can't prescribe anything, but I can offer testing with hormones, stool, looking for parasites, pathogens, bacteria, and looking at the health of the gut, and also hair tissue mineral analysis. You mentioned, it's such an interesting field, the functional nutrition field these days, offering us, the food is essential and so important on a daily basis. But there's also things that are designed, to increase, maybe supplements, to increase, absorption of said, nutrients. The body's designed to run off of nutrients. The body's not designed to run off of delicious, Pop-Tarts and things that just sound good and feel good momentarily.
Right.
Like, well, I really need to, just spend a little more time with real whole foods. Yeah.
Cool. It came from a personal experience wanting to help yourself and your daughter.
Yeah.
And then you've done a lot of studying, it sounds like, up together. Before that, or as you were doing it, you were, you're taking care of family, you're a hairdresser. How did you make the jump to making this part of your small business? Like, what gave you
well,
the authority,
word travels fast. I had a really beautiful client list as a hairdresser. I love people. I love getting, there's a special relationship between a hairdresser and a woman and a man. There's a closeness that you develop 30 years of seeing someone month after month after month after month, and it's a family thing. Well, people knew my daughter was sick, and they knew that she was getting better as a result of nutritional therapies, simple magnesium. And I was getting calls from moms with kids experiencing the same thing. And I've got a big mouth, so I was very, well, they saw she was very immersed in the community, and it was, she was very sick, and that was something that caught everyone's attention. And when we started having, success, and I started really pivoting into the world of more holistic, realms, that's when I just asked at the health club after, I decided I would go get a certification. I'm a certified nutritional consultant. Okay. I don't have a license. So I'm not in the parameters of the medical community, which is very nice for me because I don't have to follow all the rules of
Right.
HIPAA and all that.
Yep.
It's more of a holistic practice. And I went into my health club and said, I'd like to be the nutritionist. And I just got brave.
Nice.
And I look back at that and I go, geez, that was pretty ballsy because I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, I remember because we met a year ago at
Yeah.
Jill's, our friend
Yeah.
Jill's workshop, and you talked about being an introvert. So,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm asking. Like, so as an introvert, how did you take that step?
I guess I just needed to try it on for size, and I'm so glad I did. Obviously,
Yep.
I feel like I've been beneficial and helpful to so many. Well, and then you pair it with the spiritual side that I'm so passionate about, and the intuitive part of me that I really believe that it's essential for me to offer a piece of me to just kind of help and maybe assist in another's journey. I
That
love that.
service part.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was wondering, because you can't probably talk to, I treat conditions, but do you have a lot of parents who are like autism or all these other things that help?
Yeah, and it's really difficult because what I do isn't covered by insurance. And it's so when insurance, it's not a quick fix what I do. It's trial and error.
Okay.
Yeah, diet is a big part of it, and if you have someone who's compromised, it might take even several months for the body to start recognizing the nutrition. Most of us, we feel better immediately, but if you're in a incapacitated state and in an autistic child, pulling those offending foods is difficult when you're gonna, I ache for those moms who know that gluten is an offender for their child who will not eat anything but gluten. So what do? You can't, when he doesn't understand.
Right.
You pull that pizza away when that's the only thing that he's choosing to eat, because it's a slippery slope. So I mean, I just support and offer tools. Let's try this, and maybe we do this type of nutrition supplemental to give the body what it needs while we can get the behavior, because human behavior, it's a big deal. The psychology of what I do is a big part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd love to talk about that because you offer other ways to support that as well.
Hypnotherapy. Yeah.
Can you tell me about that for the folks who may know?
So the hypnosis portion of this was something that I was, again, looking for a better way, more of a quick fix, because I'm all about let's get, let's be as efficient as possible.
Yep.
And I think we talked earlier about, we don't want to be told what to do. So I can offer a more meditative state, a slower kind of drop into that self, the subconscious part of us, and assist in the client being able to give themselves wisdom through their own words. Because when you're in that quietness of the, the higher self, which the subconscious, let's put it that way, that's where all the answers are.
Right.
And we know that if we get out of our own way. So the cool thing is that you can then have a recording of yourself saying, drink more water. You need to drink more water. Silly little things. Oh my gosh, you need to eat more greens. And I'm like, I didn't say that.
Right.
I didn't tell you what to do. So that's something I can offer. But typically that's a deeper layer of what I do, and it's not as revered as quote unquote sciencey stuff.
Hmm.
Unfortunately,
But is it revered or not understood, or do you see
I
in
think
the clients?
I think it's feared.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's feared because it's misunderstood.
Gotcha.
It's being the misnomer of hypnosis. Yeah, I'm facilitating for you, and sometimes there's the fear of I might say something that I don't want anybody else to know,
Okay.
and I'm vulnerable in that meditative state, and I don't know what that's about. Although I feel like I offer a very safe place, it's unknown.
Right.
But the people brave enough, to experience it are like, I didn't realize how powerful that could be.
Right. It's fascinating you say that, because in my work too, for dealing with emotions, right? And it's like, I don't want to talk about the thing, but it's like, well, but which is cool, because I also am about like, well, we don't have to talk about it then. but it comes up in other ways, and at least kind of the way that I work around it for myself and others is your system is not going to bring up something that you're not capable of handling.
Right.
And I've just seen that time and time again, whether it's my own experience or someone else. Like,
right, there are
your
those
exact right environment, and then it becomes, that's it. That's what I was like. No, right? And it's like, what was I doing? That was,
yeah.
And it's easier said than done. It's a feeling. I get that, but yeah. And I love that you mentioned that people are brave to do that, because it's like, okay, clearly you're very trustworthy. It's like, great.
Well, I love to offer that piece.
Yep.
So it's multi-layered, and it can be very simple as it could be just one and done. And I like to trust my clients and say, I don't want to sell you a package. This is not about the money for me. It's about facilitating for you. I want to give you as much information as you need to practice on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give you license to understand what you're doing, how it works within your biochemistry, your beautiful, unique physicalness, and then call me when you need to talk again. But be honest with yourself, and don't get discouraged when it's not a straight line to healing, because it never is.
Right.
It's all over the place.
Yep.
But typically when you have the right information and your body has what it needs, it's moving towards healing.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. And just to clarify, because you said for you felt immediately when you started to change your diet. So it sounds like what you offer is a blueprint. Here's some possibilities, and as we go through, we're going to fine tune it for you based on how, of all the variables that are coming in, how compromised you are, how much your body's fighting each other.
I offer a program, and that begins with the metabolic typing assessment. So I have the tools immediately to offer you. All right, let's start here. And then as we play week to week, and you start to respond to changing up your diet, changing up how you're feeding your body. And yet you're still having a little bit of this and that, because maybe the body isn't able to receive nutrients because the gut is so broken down and not healed enough, because it's just, then sometimes it's like, okay, let's continue and not have a consecutive 8 weeks. We'll put you on hold. You have to promise me you're going to do the things. Give yourself a chance to catch up, and then we'll resume with if you wanted weight loss, which is, in my opinion, just a response to the body's creating balance.
Right.
I always like to say our bodies are so unique, because when we start to hold on to the weight or the feelings or whatever it is, the body is in distress. And I always say, it's like circle the wagons, nobody gets out. And it's protecting itself because it's not feeling comfortable. It's not okay. And when those wagons are circled, you're not going to drop a pound. And sometimes, and that's so frustrating for someone doing all the things, and they paid all the money, and they listened to me, and they made their breakfast, and they, you know, made their dinner, and they took a walk, and you know, but nothing's happening. I might feel a little better, but the scale, you know, my
Right.
pants don't fit, you know, I'm not a new human being as a result of the 3 weeks I've, you know, really worked hard.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
yeah, but you've had non-scale victories. You're feeling clearer headed. You're less bloated. You know, your rings fit better. You're able to walk. You don't have the pain that you had 3 weeks ago.
Right.
That being said, it's like, okay, now your body has the tools and you have the awareness, and maybe you're able to meditate for 5 more minutes, you know, and you're taking, especially in this time when we're in quarantine, we've got more time, most of
Mm-hmm.
us. It's allowing, the unfolding of wholeness and healing to really just kind of you know, do its thing. The body's designed to heal.
Right. And I love that you're bringing that up, because that's what I've noticed in my work too, is like you can feel good right away,
Yeah,
but it takes time to keep building that and
yeah,
doing the things, right? Which can be very simple, but to do them, to
yeah,
keep that energy clear, to keep that mind clear, to let the body takes time to equalize and balance and do its thing. And it's very wise, but when we're in the circled wagon way, like
yeah,
that
yeah.
took a lot of time too. We just didn't pay attention or something.
Thank you.
So yeah, giving it that time to find
Yeah,
that balance. There's a lot of grace. Sounds like there's a lot of grace in your work.
it's beautiful. It's so beautiful to watch someone walk in. You know, I have my physical office, and now I'm doing my Zoom consults because I'm not in my physical office anymore. That being said, but it's beautiful watching that health and wellness just kind of bubble out. You know, they'll come in maybe the first couple weeks, and they're just wiped out, and they're, you know, defeated because they've just been beat up.
Mm.
And then that health starts bubbling up, and they come in, and they've got, you know, the hair's done, the makeup's on, and they're smiling. It's like, oh my gosh, I love this. And
Yep.
they'll go, what do you mean? And I'm like, you are night and day in how you walked in the very first time that I met you. It's remarkable.
That's so
It's a big
cool.
gift. Yeah.
Do you have any tips? So you moved to some kind of online thing. So as people are, I think, you know, one of the cool things, we're talking about reset. One of the
Yeah.
things that I see is this, like nowhere in our history of humankind has the whole world just like really slowed down, right? Like
Right.
they stopped because it still has to rotate, but it's like incredibly slow right now with, we're
Right.
not doing all the things. Um, so within this time of reset, people are looking at their businesses and reevaluating. Have you any wisdom that you could pass on, or what have you learned?
Gosh, it's so difficult because I have really kind of a year or two ago stepped away from social media. I just didn't feel the need, but but I'm being challenged at this point because I'm needing to connect. You
Mm.
know, as a practitioner, you need to stay connected. There's the email list, yes, and it's uncomfortable, and I'm uncomfortable because I've really tried to not interject the wisdom that I have for you until you ask me.
Mm.
I learned that long ago, and maybe it's time to start offering more uh, without being asked.
That's so
So
cool.
that's a tough one for me.
That is really cool, because that's a very similar theme that came up when another mastermind I was part of, and I was just listening to all of us speaking, and I think we've learned a lot of the same lessons of, you know, maybe it's a little too weird, like, you know, um, there's that
Well,
little self-protection of like, I'm not going to make myself wrong because I picked up on the
absolutely.
sign that they didn't want me to talk, but I kept going, right? But I think we're at that stage, and it could be a stage of our lives where um, we're asking to be leaders in our wisdom,
Yeah,
and share our wisdom. And people don't know they're out there, right? Like,
yeah. It's true. I mean, it's not like somebody's sitting there, you know, yes, I do have a website that maybe it's not as optimized as it could be for the, you know, the Google searches. You know, I've done a little bit of work there, but I'm no techno genius. I'm a people person. I'm doing the best that I can. And yes, I mean, thank you for the opportunity to share. Yes, I have a Facebook page. It's Connie Rutledge, Health, Nutrition and Wellness. I think I changed it about a year ago, you know,
Yep.
in addition to my personal page. And I have a Instagram account. I mean, I like to stay connected. I love humanity. I love people. Do I like to be controversial? And you know, no, that's not comfortable for me. Not that I need to do that, but yes, maybe I need to get braver and share simple tips and tricks that work for me. You know, maybe someone needs to know what I eat in a day.
Right.
It might not be, you know, I'll have to qualify it and say, this might not be for you, but.
Well, I think it's super important because someone helped me reframe a little bit too on how I was viewing it. Because we talked a little bit about spirituality and that kind of road of the idea of we all must eat a certain way, right? Like, well, and there's a huge push, and you see it in the restaurants. And my favorite meme right now, that in a time of quarantine, no one's eating the vegan food, right? Like, it's cleared out left and right. There's nothing on the shelves except for the vegan food, and so. Yeah. So, I mean, I love that humor and humanity, but there is this possible confusion of what I should eat. And I loved, I heard it from, her name's escaping me right now, but her thing was, if you're a mechanic and you don't put the hydraulic fluid in, the plane's not going to work. Or if you don't put the oil in the engine because you have a problem with offshore drilling, that plane's not going anywhere, right? Like, being a pilot, I love that analogy.
You should.
And so I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me. So as, you know, looking at our bodies from that point, I think you do have a valuable thing to offer of.
It's very valuable. It's one of the most valuable things that could ever be.
Right.
We deserve, if we want this human body to function the way that we need it to function, or we need to know how to feed it.
Yep.
And we're eating every day, most of us, you know, and it's not about perfection. It's about an understanding, and we have a choice, you know, and as long as you can be pretty compliant, or eating healthy food, you know, 80%, even 50% of the time, it's going to be so much better overall outcome than being, you know, uneducated or just unconscious about it. Eating what, you know, that's just so important, so that we can feel and behave and, you know, be the best us possible. It's well, so simple.
And I think there's some like misunderstandings too, like what is, and I think our words matter. I think that was what this weekend was about, was high vibrational food, right? Like, I think we think that means the vegetables and stuff, but what if they're talking about, let's change that word into quality, grass-fed beef, right? Yeah. Like, they molecularly know that is a better quality food. And I'll tell you, when I switched to that, I'm like, it tastes different. It's a completely different experience. And so if you could offer some of those changes, what would you offer to people just to start now, or consider?
Well, certainly consider that real food, you know, what real food, and obviously as natural as possible is going to be ideal, you know, as often as possible. So you want filtered water, and you probably want, you know, a good amount of it every, you know, breathing and peeing and pooping and exercising, and just metabolic function needs water, and clean water's good. Okay,
Okay.
filtered water. Probably most of us are carb sensitive somewhat, and the older we get, the more carb sensitive we get because our body, the hormones are not as robust, and we're not building muscle, and our metabolism is probably a little slower. So we need less, quote unquote, carbohydrates, meaning grains, plants, fruits, sugars, and processed foods. Okay. Most of us we all need a fair amount of protein, and ballpark figure. What's protein? Proteins are animals and legumes, nuts and seeds, dairy products if you tolerate them. So basically, we're eating, and then fats. Fats are oils, butter, meats have fat. Eat the whole, not just a white meat chicken breast with no skin. I mean, I have a hard time with that. I mean, honor the animal by buying the whole thing and really eating as much of it as you can. But that being said, so a well-rounded meal. If you feel a craving after eating your, bacon and eggs, and maybe a couple blueberries or a half a banana in the morning, if that works for you. If you have a sugar craving at 10 o'clock, maybe you eat more protein or more fat. And hopefully you can get, your body away from that sugar craving, because when we have a craving, it's the body's need for more fuel. Okay.
Yep.
And then you work on that next meal. Maybe you're going to have that. Maybe you're going to go, have a lentil soup or something. And there's, that's a whole food, and maybe you're going to do beautifully on that. Then see how you feel 2 hours after that. And if there's still more cravings, or if you feel like you need a nap, then maybe there were too many carbohydrates in that lentil soup to support your metabolism for that energy needs for the day. Then you try, go out on a limb and do the grass-fed, patty and the very low carbohydrate meal with high fat. Just play around with different types of foods until you feel like, oh, I've got this, I've got this dialed in. But paying attention is the biggest part of this process, because you really need, your body's giving you that information. And it's important for you to pay attention. I always say, 2 hours after eating a meal, I want you to check in with how your body's feeling.
Yep.
And pay attention to that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so important with everything, right?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Pay attention. Be conscious of, have that, the experiencer,
right?
Yes, be the experiencer.
Right, which requires presence, which is like, yeah.
Yes. So great.
Could be very simple. So I have 2 more questions. One is something that kind of, because I'm a nerd, as you go through people's, because you do it genetically, right? There's a
the assessment. Yeah.
Do you see it like regional? Because you mentioned Eskimos, and you appear to be maybe northern Scandinavian.
It's more, Deirdre. It's more. It's deeper than that. I can almost intuitively tell by personality.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
And I'm surprised when somebody that has a certain ethnicity walks in my door, or, I see them. I'm sometimes just baffled by, but their presentation as a human being, their energetics has a lot to do with it.
So quickly, what would you say for me? And I am going to follow up with you, because I want to hack the system.
Right. Well, you are a little confusing to me.
Nailed it.
So I might put you right in the middle as maybe a mixed oxidizer or a balanced type. But I also get you've done so much work on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And those of us that are very, I don't know, spend a lot of time in the realm of somewhere else, other worldly, that becomes more difficult for me to assess.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm
probably in 2012 in the doldrums, you could have nailed it. I'd be a walking book.
But it is fun for me as a practitioner to guess and then see what happens as a result. But
well, someone has offered the idea that I do create my own energy, so I really don't need to eat a lot, and then drink water, which I can't tell you how many entries that's been in. Drink more water. Like,
well, when you're having a higher vibe, it's essential to really feed that with water. And
well, and they explained the science of it too. It made total sense, right? Electricity, right? Like it goes through water much better. Still does not translate to stubborn child.
You get to be stubborn. I know.
The stubborn part of me that's like,
yeah, not doing it. No.
Well, it's cool because they were like, yeah, you don't like to drink water, do you? And I'm like, how'd you know?
Right. Where are you? Right. Looking in my.
Who's doing this? But yeah, well, cool. That'll be fun to break down. One of the fun things that came out that I ask everybody at the end, I totally enjoy it. And I asked it of myself on my first podcast, my solo, was what surprises and delights you about yourself?
Oh my goodness. The joy that I get from the little ones.
Really?
Yeah. It is offering me a playful side that I really didn't let out.
Cool. Tell me more about your playful side.
My playful side. Well, I've always been an athlete, so I've just always played sports. You know, I avid tennis player, but playing games, singing songs, being childlike. I think I've always thought that that's childish, and I didn't want to look childish. But I have gotten so much joy with my grandchildren, being able to, just paying, drilling down into being attentive to them and playing because it just feels so good.
Yep.
Creating, goofy,
cool.
goofy. Yeah. Love it.
Right?
Yeah.
And that perspective certainly helps during these times, right? Like
it does.
It's like the things that are bothersome, like why?
I've heard for years that, we're here experiencing Earth, to enjoy ourselves. And I work hard, and I want to get it right. And there's no room for play. I just want to go. But I think I'm allowing more balance.
Cool.
And really enjoying it. Yeah.
I love that. Well, it has been such a pleasure talking with you, Connie. I'm sure we could go for hours. And knowing me, I probably would. So
thank you.
You're welcome. We did talk about a little bit of Facebook, but could you put all the ways that people can find you?
My website is ConnieRutledge.com. So ConnieRutledge.com. My email address is Connie@ConnieRutledge.com. Pretty simple. My contact number is on the website. If you want to go to Facebook, you can put in Connie Rutledge and find me. I'm not on Facebook that often. Maybe I'll be more diligent about that. Instagram is Connie Rutledge, at Connie Rutledge, one word, I think. And Jill Renee Feeler, you can go to her website. I'm offered up there just like you.
Yep.
And
thanks, Jill.
Yeah, I know. We're lucky.
Well, cool. So I'll put all that in a package or in.
Thank you.
In the feed so people can tag on that. And physically you're in California.
I'm in,
person.
Central Coast, California, San Luis Obispo, right in the middle of the state. Very, very
Cool.
happy.
The hypnosis sessions, can those be done online as well?
I need to transition. Yes, anything can be done online.
Okay.
I have yet to do that physically
Okay.
as of today. But you know what? I'm confident that that's
Cool.
that's a simple. Just need to do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. What a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you,
I
Deirdre.
love listening to your perspectives and
Oh, I love
biohacking.
you. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and stop.